of being humble, let me get to it. That motivation music, get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it. Cause when I gon' have met your S550s cruising, feel like you winning on it.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. Now, I appreciate you tuning in for the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, hit us up on the voicemail line. And of course, we'll play your take back on our next episode. That number is 219-413-9405. And shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off of your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but you better go watch some good basketball. And one of them teams you can watch is the Detroit Pistons. They are the best team in the NBA right now, statistically based on records. Not just saying that out of pure fandom, but I promise you, you will be happy if you watch a basketball game with the Pistons. Speaking of the Pistons, though, they recently just fell short to the San Antonio Spurs. What an amazing game from these two. I personally enjoyed this matchup a lot. Although my team did not win, I really did enjoy this matchup. It was a great battle down to the wire, very entertaining all game. However, the Spurs just so happened to finish out on top 114-103. A couple different things about this game. The first thing I really want to highlight within the game is obviously Cade had a rough night. This was a big part of it, but what we're not really paying attention to is, yes, Cade had a rough night against the Spurs. However, it wasn't just Cade that had a rough night. The Pistons shot awful the entire second half, and honestly, even the first half, they didn't shoot the best. They had a rough shooting night all around against the San Antonio Spurs, and even though they had a rough shooting night all around, not just Cade, but also his supporting cast had a rough shooting night, they still kept the game very close, and they only lost by 11 points. When you look at what happened, really the third quarter was kind of the big breakdown for the Detroit Pistons against the San Antonio Spurs team. And credit to the Spurs because they played tremendous defense. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that team is in the Western Conference and that we don't have to worry about playing the Spurs again anytime soon. However, to give you just a idea of how bad they were in that third quarter, in the fourth quarter as well, the second half in general, they shot 1 for 8 from the three-point line in the third quarter, 2 for 18 the entire second half from the three-point line. They shot 28% total in the third quarter, and then in the second half, only 32% in the second half. So, yes, Cade played bad, but it wasn't just him. His supporting cast was also bad, and, they couldn't get the ball in the hoop, man. And again, a lot of the credit goes to the San Antonio Spurs because they did play some tremendous defense. We've seen, It was, to me, tremendous of what we've seen from Steven Castle up top and also Wemby down low. Like, that was just a combination, just disgusting. Also, too, I thought Steven Castle, his on-ball defense was on another level. I will say it was a tough night in general, but he didn't help at all in terms of making it easier for the Pistons. He still made every bucket a challenge for them to get, even when they did score. So I want to give them their credit there. But I'd be silly and I'd be lying to you if I told you I was disappointed in this Spurs loss, because as bad as they were shooting, you've seen the numbers you heard the numbers that I mentioned earlier. As bad as the Pistons were shooting, they still only lost by 11 points. And the game was competitive all throughout the second half, even though the Pistons were 2 for 18 from the three-point line and couldn't make any other shot or any type of bucket that they had where it was an open look and they were just not making any shots. 28% from the field, but yet they still kept the game close and stayed in striking range. And a lot of times they cut the lead down where they could have took the lead, but it just got out of hand. Too many empty possessions. They started fumbling the ball. They started turning it over, silly mistakes. Guys started getting a little lazy at times. We've seen one of the premier defensive stoppers for the Pistons get benched, Desar Thompson, which I'll explain in just a little bit. But above all, I'm not really upset about the Pistons losing this game because in total, everybody played bad. It's not on one person where, oh, this guy played bad, so all of a sudden he's the reason they lost. No, a lot of people want to frame it that way. A lot of people want to target it to Cade Cunningham and his rough shooting night. I think it was 5 for 26. He had an extremely rough shooting night. And it happens. However, the one thing I can say about Cade's bad performance, yes, I know Cade had a stinker against the Spurs and nothing was falling. None of his open shots were falling. Also, it was great defense to the Spurs. But one of the things we have to pay attention to is every player once in a blue moon has a rough night. They have a bad shooting night. It's going to be some sort of bad percentage that looks awful on the stat sheet. It's going to just be a night where shots isn't falling. You can't escape that if you're a good player. However, not every player in the league can still affect the game outside of scoring when their shots isn't falling. Because K had 10 assists, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He still was very active. And if you look at the plus minus of what he was doing when he was on the floor, it was still positive. So obviously he was impacting the game in a positive way in keeping the Pistons in striking distance, although he had an awful shooting night and although he wasn't able to get his shots to fall. So I can deal with people saying, oh, well, you know, the percentage was bad and he shot this and, oh, he was played terrible this game, which he did. I'll be the first to admit that. He didn't have a good game. But you got to understand, and we cannot overlook all the other things that he did in that ball game, still having 10 assists, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks, because he was tremendous on the defensive end, even though some of the statistics won't show what he was doing from getting stops at the top of the key and bringing it all the way back down to the bottom. Like, some of these things don't show. But he was tremendous on the defensive end. And that's an aspect where I really think he is an underrated defender, of course, but I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about how I think Cade is an underrated defender. But he had a rough night. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not mad at that. I think it was weird that Ausar Thompson got benched. I understand, you know, certain things weren't up to standard for JB Bickerstaff, which is cool. I get that. It was weird to me that Ausar got benched, though. I think that was a big reason why we couldn't close that 10-point gap in the third quarter, is because we didn't have that extra guy there who is an energy guy. I mean, he goes get the loose balls. He's going to play defense. He's going to run a fast break, and he makes good decisions. To me, obviously, it was a short leash for him tonight. It was a short leash for him tonight, or against the Spurs, I should say. It was a short leash for Ausar against the Spurs. And I don't know what led to that short leash, but it clearly affected us in that second half, not having him there. It's something to build off of, and hopefully it's something that doesn't hinder us in the future. But above all, even with Ausar out of the game, I think this is something we can all learn from, because, yes, we know the talk of the town has always been Cade needs that second scoring option. He needs someone else to step in. Ausar can be that. Ron Holland can be that. Jenkins can be that. Duren can be that. Toby can be that. Like, we have a lot of options sometimes for the Pistons where we can have a second guy to be the second scoring option, but this is what hurts us sometimes. Not having that secure second scoring option sometimes helps the Pistons, and sometimes it hurts the Pistons. It helps us because it can be any guy on any given night. Sometimes it's Tobias Harris who's coming in handy, giving you 20 points, 18 points. And sometimes it's Duren who's going to be that second option, giving you 26 and 10. Sometimes it's going to be Ausar that steps up and give you 18 points, or Ron Holland, or even Karis LeVert. You never really know who it's going to be, which is sometimes a good thing for us, because other teams can't really prep on who that number 2 option is for sure. It's always someone who's sneaking up on you. However, it also hurts us in a way, because you don't know who's going to be that second option. For that same reason of it possibly being anybody, it could also be nobody. So this is what hinders us sometimes about this second option. And it helps and hurts. So it's a little, I go back and forth on needing that secure second option. And sometimes second options, even when teams have them, still don't show up. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but we can't always depend on someone, and it does hurt us sometimes, but it's a huge help when we can. So I go back and forth about the second option thing, and I don't think it's as big as a deal as everybody is making it, because overall we still see a great team effort, and we still see guys hustling. We still see guys putting the ball in the hoop, even outside of Cunningham. Can they do it a little bit more? Maybe, sometimes better than others. It helps a whole lot when they can do it without Cade Cunningham's help, but it's always sometimes inconsistent with the supporting cast being able to score. Duran stepped up big in his game against the San Antonio Spurs the other day, but it just, again, he can't do it by himself. The time where he stepped up big and proved I can be a legitimate second option, that's the time where Cade had a rough shooting night. And also, not just Cade, Duncan Robinson struggled. I mean, Asar struggled, Ron Holland. We had a lot of guys on that Pistons team who struggled with shooting the ball. So it wasn't all on Cade. Like, a lot of people want to blame it. A lot of people want to say, oh, well, there goes his MVP campaign. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. I still think he's a legitimate threat to win MVP. And again, in my eyes, I still see him as the MVP, because regardless of however you want to look at it, his team wouldn't be in a situation of where they are right now if he wasn't in there. And you could even argue that Cade being relevant with the Pistons has made the league even better this year, because now it's much more competitive. So I'm still on the train of Cade being MVP, and we're not going to act like just because he had one bad game, the man isn't averaging damn near 26 and 10. So we're not going to ignore all these other things that he does great just because he had one bad game against a great defensive team in the San Antonio Spurs. Absolutely not. I'm not going for any of that. I'm still on a wagon of Cade winning MVP, and I still think he is the MVP. So I can't hear anything about, oh, the campaign is over. Nah, it's silly to me. The campaign is still going on. It's still going strong. So we'll see what happens. They have a loaded slate of games coming up in these next few days. They play the Oklahoma City Thunder. They play the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they also play the Orlando Magic. So, man, I mean, there's no room for error. They got to lock in really, really quick. I know they had this rough game here against the Spurs, who's a solid defensive team, but let me tell you something. OKC is a great defensive team. Cleveland, they've been stepping up big time. You play the Magic, and then you go see Cleveland again, and then, unfortunately, we get to get our get. Actually, no, not unfortunately. We get to get our get back against the Spurs in a couple days. So I think it's like a week or so. I'm pretty excited about that. I am curious to see how that goes. Obviously, this was a very, very bad shooting night for the Pistons in this first matchup against the San Antonio Spurs. Like I said, the second half and that third quarter was the big turning point. You had guys shooting 1 for 7 from the three-point line. Multiple people, not just one. You had multiple. As a total, you had 2 for 15 from the three-point line, 28% in the third quarter all around. Like, it was a lot of bad shooting happening in that third quarter, but yet the Pistons still kept it close. So I cannot wait until I think it's March 6th, where the Pistons go play the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio, and we get to see how this game differs. Because yes, Wemby was effective on the defensive end, but let's keep it a buck. Wemby, he kind of got rolled on by Jalen Duran. Jalen Duran had his way with Victor Wembanyama. I mean, he had a double-double, and he also splurged. He bullied them. They got very physical with Wemby. He dunked on him. He grabbed boards over him. He put up some nice layups. It was a very back-and-forth type of game down low with Duran and Wemby. So we're not going to act like Wemby just dominated the Pistons, because he truthfully didn't have the best game in the world either. So I'm excited to see what this matchup entails when we see the Spurs again. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. That's going to be so exciting to finally watch that matchup one more time after this long stretch of elite teams, because we'll see the Spurs again for sure. So other than that, look, man, we got some more stuff, some voicemails coming up in just a second. We got a couple of voicemail callers, so we'll play them back and see what they're talking about. And yeah, man, so we'll take a listen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It is halftime. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. Hit us up on the voicemail line, 219-413-9405. And, of course, we'll play your take back on the next episode. We got a couple of them here, and I don't know what they're talking about. I haven't listened to it yet. I know one of them I think is Pistons related or NBA related, and one is NFL related. So before I continue to talk on and on and on about it, let's go ahead and just play these back. Let's hear what they got to say. So let's do it. Let's see it.
Yeah, I just seen your video, man. Listen, although everything you saying is logical and it makes sense, but if we look at players and playmakers, bruh, New England match up perfectly with them boys. Like, we got two of the best run stoppers, when healthy, top 3 in the league. And you can look at the stats when Kenan Walker, because they're going to rely heavy on that run to open up the pass. So if Kenan Walker can't get no runs out that line, which I'm very positive is going to happen Sunday, now Sam Darnold going to be in a situation of trying to play shootout with the defense. And plus, one thing that people don't give New England credit for, the defense communicate well all levels of the field. They're all in sync of what's going on. So if you think that shit going to be easy and you think them boys going to win the game like how everybody's saying they're going to win the game, I got another thing coming. It's going to be a whole different game y'all going to see on Sunday.
Damn, you know what? That's crazy. I didn't realize this was that old, but we see how it turned out. We see how it turned out. Congrats to the Seattle Seahawks for winning your Super Bowl. Yeah, that's my only response, man. I'm sorry I didn't get to play this earlier. I'm sure the video he was talking about of me was saying that the Patriots are frauds or something like that along the lines. I've been clowning the Patriots well before they got to the Super Bowl, calling them frauds, calling them this, that. So I'm sure that's what it was. But anyway, look, man, I appreciate you for calling either way. Let's jump into this other one here because this was more recent. I swear it was more recent. This was just Saturday, this past weekend. I swear it was much more recent. So let's see what he got to say. Let's hear it. Let's see what they talk about.
My name is David Orozco. I was just calling to do a quick take. I think the Hawks' problems, I had a friend the other day who told me if Jalen Brunson was on the Hawks, instead of CJ McCollum, that they would be like a 60-win team. And I disagreed with him. I told him the Hawks wouldn't win more than at most 5 or 6 games with Jalen Brunson and CJ McCollum because they're the same type of player. Jalen Brunson is a very, I bet, made playmaker, especially for his size. Oh my, he's a very good scorer, especially for his size. And he does things on offense that Trey just can't do, especially because of his frame. Things like post-up. Jalen Brunson loves the post-up, especially with 6'1" guard. And he has a great mid-range for that height. Trey Young, you can only score from like 3 levels. You can only score at the rim from 3 and like the deep 3. That's all you can score from. You can't really score from the mid-range because they're like lanky-ass, not lanky, but like skinny-ass frame. And then he gets 24. He's how skinny he is. Jalen Brunson got no problem with that, but that's not the issue on him. But you need a secondary facilitator, not somebody.
All right, it's a little hard to hear, bro. Look, I appreciate bro for calling. It's so difficult to hear you. So we're having trouble just like trying to pick up on everything that you were talking about. The only thing I really took away from that was the Jalen Brunson instead of CJ McCollum. The audio wasn't the best on that, but that's the main thing I took away from that is if you swap Jalen Brunson with CJ McCollum, they wouldn't win 60 games. Or they would or wouldn't. I didn't need to go back and play. Let me try and hear that part one more time. Let's see.
I think the Hawks' problems, I had a friend the other day who told me if Jalen Brunson was on the Hawks, instead of CJ McCollum, that they would be like a 60-win team. And I disagreed with him. I told him the Hawks wouldn't win more than at most 5 or 6 games with Jalen Brunson and CJ McCollum because they're the same type of player. Jalen Brunson is a very, I bet, made playmaker, especially for his size. Oh my, he's a very good scorer, especially for his size. And he does things on offense that Trey just can't do, especially because of his frame. They like post up. Jalen Brunson loves to post up, especially with 6'1" guard. And he has a great mid range for that height. Trey Young, he can only score from like 3 levels. He can only score at the rim from 3 and like the deep 3. That's all he can score from. He can't really score from the mid range.
All right, and that's where it starts to get a little choppy. That's where I really can't hear as good. But okay, I understand that. Jalen Brunson, you swap him for CJ McCollum. However, I cannot agree with that. I agree with your friend on that, man. You swap Jalen Brunson and CJ McCollum, the Hawks are for sure winning at least 60 games. I'm sorry. Look, man, they are similar, very similar to each other in a sense of the height and being able to get a bucket. I think CJ McCollum is a bucket, a very underrated bucket, if you will. However, Jalen Brunson is a different level, man. Jalen Brunson is just a different level, especially with this current Hawks team. If Jalen Brunson is on his Hawks team, they become an elite threat. I think he's a little bit better of a playmaker. I think he's smarter with the ball. And scoring-wise, I think he is far more ahead than CJ McCollum. I'm sorry, man. I think he got him beat. Because Brunson, I have a huge amount of respect for Brunson. And some people, despite whatever they might think, because of the way I speak about Brunson in certain comparisons, I can't agree with you on that, man. You swap CJ McCollum and Jalen Brunson, I'm for sure giving the Atlanta Hawks a deep playoff run at some point, especially with this current team. I think they have enough to go succeed, especially with a guy like Brunson. And it's very similar to a Trae Young situation. I think that would be a better depiction or a better comparison, if you will, is if you swap Trae Young with the Atlanta Hawks and put Jalen Brunson there, then how well would that team perform? But as we've seen, even when the Hawks had Trae Young active and healthy, they were pretty elite. That's an elite team. Obviously, there was some ups and downs where they weren't playing good, but above all, they were fairly competitive on any given night. And yet we weren't really able to see Trae Young get into a rhythm with this current Atlanta Hawks team. So if, to me, you put Brunson there, oh yeah, I think this team is definitely still elite. I'm not going to go as far as saying they're a championship team, but they are definitely relevant, and they would definitely go on some sort of playoff run, similar to how we've seen with Trae Young, if you will. So that's my thoughts on that part. Another thing here, last thing as we move on, is the Atlanta Falcons. Man, the Atlanta Falcons. So there's some news that came out with the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, a lot of people know by now that Kyle Pitts has been franchise tagged. So the Falcons are not getting rid of Kyle Pitts. He will not be leaving Atlanta. He is franchise tagged. The tag is estimated around 15 to 17 million. It's no specific number on it just yet, but based on what Ian Cunningham, the GM for the Falcons, said at his press conference earlier today, he mentioned that they are trying to get that deal worked out immediately, working that out as we speak. So I'm super excited that we get to have Kyle Pitts for another year. I think this will be huge, especially considering we have a whole new coaching staff. And I think it would have been silly. It would have been absolutely silly to get rid of Kyle Pitts, to see how this thing really works with your coaching staff. Maybe they really need him. Maybe they don't. But either way, I think this is kind of a good idea. Not a hard hit on the cap space. You still keep your money, so you have a lot of room to possibly extend other guys, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, or maybe you want to bring some more free agent guys over. So I'm excited about that. And also something else that's supposed to open up some more cap space is Kirk Cousins. It is official that Kirk Cousins will be a free agent and he will not be on the Atlanta Falcons next year. Now, they're going to release him. So this will save the Falcons a ton of money, cap space for this year and also next year and the following. So Kirk signed that huge deal. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but man, the way they restructured it, it was really a solid from Kirk Cousins, doing us a favor, and ultimately is going to help Kirk Cousins be able to sign somewhere else once another team is taking eyes his way and try to pick him up on their team. So this is huge. Another few people that are kind of in negotiations right now and in these talks are we have Caden Ellis. He's in the talks right now, possibly returning. You also have Darnell Mooney, who's also in the conversation of possibly returning to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, with these two guys, I actually need to switch my hat. Yeah. I forgot what I'm talking about now. But with these two guys and the other pending free agents in Atlanta, I should say, between Caden Ellis, Darnell Mooney. I know there's a couple others as well, but these are some of the guys I'm okay with losing. I'm okay with losing Caden Ellis. I mean, he's had a lot of injury issues over the past few years. Great linebacker when he's healthy, and I really like him when he's healthy, but it's just the factor of, is he going to be healthy and is he going to be present? So with that being said, based on what Ian Cunningham mentioned in his interview, he was saying it's a lot of linebacker talent that's going to be entering free agency. So this does give him a little confidence, but he didn't say for sure that we're going to not re-sign him. But I think this is kind of where he's heading and like what the lines are kind of setting up to be, if you will. And then same with Darnell Mooney. He didn't mention anything specific to Darnell Mooney not coming back to this team. But he said he's just going to continue to evaluate guys and discuss with the staff of everything that's going on and if they will bring Darnell Mooney back. I think I'm okay if we lose Darnell Mooney. I think he's a tremendous player. I know he dealt with some injuries, but I really didn't see enough for us to give him a contract and be like, hey, we need you here. Personally, at least me, I didn't see enough. So maybe I'm wrong. I know I can't wait to really see how everything starts to unfold. And I'm excited with the hire of Ian Cunningham because Falcons GM so far, I mean, letting Kirk Cousins go was a big decision. And then franchise tagging Kyle Pitts is huge as well. So, you know, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm excited to see what happens with him. But I think he has a lot of great experience being in the Bears organization and drafting a lot of the guys that they had during that time. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see how it turns out with them. But I'm excited for it. And we will see the free agency starts, I think it's March 11th. That's when we'll start seeing free agents go and get signed and all of that. So can't wait for that. But other than that, man, look, that's all I got for y'all. So I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for hanging out on a live stream, all of that. Send us to a cousin, brother, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, coworker, friend, family member, whoever you are close to. I promise they're not going to mind, especially if I talked about their team. And then a positive note today is just going to be as simple as, what is it going to be? It's going to be, just do what makes you happy, man. Do what fulfills your heart and soul. That's all it's gonna be. That's all it's gonna be. Yeah, that's the one part I didn't prepare for today. Whatever. Other than that, that's all I got for y'all, man. I appreciate you. We'll be back later on this week and so on and so on.